Media landscape has gone through a huge change. There are so many ways to market to this multi-generational workforce. Media has a different role, but it's an exciting one. You really need to be looking at media more carefully.
Marketing, like a symphony, is a harmonious blend of instruments. But without the proper direction, it's just noise. Welcome to the Supply Chain Marketing Show, presented by SupplyChainBrain Media. From the art of storytelling to the science of data, we'll uncover strategies that drive success. Brad Berger, president and publisher of SupplyChainBrain, joins Ralph Henderson to discuss why the smartest supply chain brands are investing in real media, content, credibility, and connection for 2026. Now, here's your host and supply chain marketing guide, Ralph Henderson.
When you hear the words persuasion and influence, what comes to mind? What should come to mind? Hi, I'm Ralph Henderson, the host of the Supply Chain Marketing Show, brought to you by SupplyChainBrain Media. Today, we talk about, of all things, media. Media is most likely what persuaded you to make your last big purchase. In supply chain, everyone talks about innovation, automation, AI, robotics, planning. But there's one tool that too many solution providers overlook, and that's media. Not the kind you scroll past, the kind that shapes perception, builds trust, and drives buying decisions. In 2026, media isn't just marketing. It's a weapon. It's a differentiator, a collaborator that can take your brand from just another vendor to the voice everyone listens to. And today, we're going one-on-one with somebody who knows better than anyone else, the founder, the publisher, and president of one of the largest supply chain media platforms in the world. We're talking about how companies like yours can use media to rise above the noise, influence the influencers, and connect more deeply with the very people who buy what you sell. Because, spoiler alert, just like you, they're influenced by media too. If you're serious about standing out in 2026, not just showing up at trade shows and hoping people will notice, then this conversation is for you. So buckle up. This is your backstage pass to how power players in the supply chain media see the future and how you can be a part of it. Let's welcome President, Founder, and Publisher of SupplyChainBrain, Brad Berger. Brad, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Ralph. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we are very thrilled to have you here, believe me. So you guys celebrate 30 years in the biz next year. You have your 30th birthday, and that's pretty exciting, I have to tell you. So one of the things I wanted to start out talking about is how marketing to supply chain executives today compares to, say, 30 years ago when you launched SupplyChainBrain.
It's been 30 years now. Amazing. It seems like yesterday when a gentleman by the name of David Silver came and knocking on our door. We're a 150-year-old trade publishing company, one of the oldest in the country. And he literally just knocked on our door and said, hey, you guys should be publishing a magazine about foreign trade zones. And we said, what are those? And we had to basically do our research, like with anything, and we realized that there might not be a business in a magazine about foreign trade zones, but that led us to a bigger picture, and one that wasn't called supply chain at the time. Nobody had a supply chain title back then. Nobody was earning degrees in the field like they are today. And thus, after about a year's worth of research, was born a SupplyChainBrain. And, we weren't talking about e-commerce back then. We weren't talking about all the advancements in automation and robotics, AI. So much has changed, and so many more people in our industry now that are involved. So many people on the supply chain strategy team that are involved in the influence and the decision making on all aspects of this industry. It can be quite overwhelming now. But there are many more ways to market to the industry, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But there's been quite a few changes that shaped this industry.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And no one can argue that you guys did the Wayne Gretzky thing on skating where the puck was going to be. I mean, who would have thunk 30 years ago supply chain would be as prevalent and as important as it is today, right? I mean, look, just 5 or 6 years ago, people still thought we were, vague, nebulous, CIA, FBI, call us whatever you want, but then when the pandemic happened and people saw what the supply chain was and how it mattered to them, then it became a big deal. So kudos to you guys. That's great for 30 years. And man, oh man, I can't imagine what the next 30 are going to look like. So one of the things in the supply chain space that I have found in the years that I've been in this space is that people look at events, trade shows, conferences, summits, really, really, importantly, like, this is the thing they want to do for their marketing. And I understand that. I mean, as a producer, I get doing those kinds of things. But let's talk about events just in general in the space. Like, how do you feel about the landscape today? Like, are they working? Are they not working? How can they be improved? And what should vendors, decide where to invest?
Yeah, it's a tough thing too because there are so many. I mean, Ralph, as you know, at Supply Chain Brain, we're covering in person 15 to 20 events each year. We could go to one every single week. I feel we're pretty on top of the event landscape now, and we know who's doing a good job, who's not.
We'll be back after this brief message.
In today's complex supply chain, marketing has never been more critical. But are you leveraging the full potential of your marketing efforts? Supply Chain Brain Media created 2 resources to help you discover what's new and what works. The Supply Chain Marketing Group series is designed to educate you on services and how to implement them into your marketing program. On the Supply Chain Marketing Show, hear firsthand how experts are implementing the elements from the 5 rings of supply chain marketing to drive results. Ready to elevate your marketing game? Schedule a 30-minute consult today. Email Morgan at supplychainbrainmedia.com. Supply Chain Brain Media, your guide to marketing success.
And now back to our show.
As Supply Chain Brain, you see shows from the media perspective, from the publishing perspective, from editorial, and you're not there, as a particular solution. So over the 30 years, you've seen the difference. And so help the viewers and the listeners understand, what those decades have brought as far as the shows are concerned. So maybe help them with understanding where that fits in 2026 for them.
I mean, I think shows have to have a place in your marketing budget. Of course, it's important to meet people face to face. When you do have that opportunity, you gotta take it. I think that there are plenty of opportunities with events. You just gotta make the right decisions. There's lots of opportunities now for companies to be successful at conferences.
Cool. Yeah, and I appreciate that because I know so many people in our listening and viewing audience, do so much in the way of shows, investing and time and all of that thing. So I want them to know there is still a lot of opportunity there. It's just a matter of strategizing. Now let's get into the meat of today's topic, and that is media. So let's talk about media. So how has that changed throughout the years, and where is it today?
Yeah, so the media landscape has gone through a huge change. I mean, in 2008, when the recession hit, a lot of publishers uh, kind of fell asleep at the wheel. Let's just say. I had to go to the owner of Keller Publishing and say, that print model we've been employing for over 100 years. that's just not going to work anymore. Now, it still exists. We still have our magazine, but within 5 years, we went from 99% of our business reliant on print advertising to 80% digital, 20% print. That's a major change. And nowadays there are so many ways to market to this multi-generational workforce
Right.
in a multimedia approach that publishers have a such a different role now. And so there are so many ways that supply chain brain has opened up for marketers to reach our audience. And everyone in our audience, they want information in different ways, and we have to keep providing those means to the marketer. And it's ever evolving. If you asked me about social media 10 years ago, Ralph, from our surveys, less than 10% of our audience actually used it. And boy, has that changed now. So yeah, media has a different role, but it's an exciting one, and it's one that companies really need to embrace because we have such a connection, a deep connection to our audience every single day. When we started, we were a monthly magazine, and we had a trust that we built with our audience, but it was only so often that we were talking to them. Now we speak to them every single day with social, with newsletters, with video, podcast, webinar. We have this very strong connection to our audience, which is now over 250,000 subscribers and over 500,000 people that get information from us every year. And so you really need to be looking at media more carefully, supply chain brain or not, and understand how effective we can be for you.
Well, and I could not agree more. As a producer in this space, I've been in this space since 1991. I've been producing since '09. And one of the things that just perplexes me, I work with other industries, the NFL, Live Nation, where, media and branding and all of that is just second nature. I mean, it's a part of the fabric, for goodness sakes. And I think in the supply chain space, because of all the things that have happened in just these last handful of years, and the capabilities like folks like yourself have given people, I think there's a bit of a maybe a misunderstanding or even almost a hesitation to because we're not even sure what it means. It's like we see advertising and we remember the print ads like you were talking about a few minutes ago. But then when we think of media, we think Coca-Cola or IBM or these bigger companies. And we think, well, how can me, the solution provider, get involved in media? Well, I think what you're saying is not only can you have to. I mean, this is basically where we are right now is solution providers in the supply chain space. We have to start thinking more media like because we buy that way and so do our prospects. And they buy that way for what we're trying to help them see and invest in. So can you help us out a little bit with the people who are making decisions going into 26 as far as the spend and as far as media and as far as the strategy is concerned to understand we've arrived, it's possible, and you can do it and even do it well.
Yeah, I mean, companies. How often, Ralph, do companies come to us and they're at events and nobody knows us,
Right.
and they're expecting when they go to these events for people to stop by their booths. Why would you stop by a booth of a company that you've never heard of before? It's a tough thing. You're gonna go to the ones that you think you know, whether you know them
Right.
or not. You think
Whether
you
you
know
know
them.
them or not.
Today, you have so many ways for you to do that through media. And again, supply chain brain aside, media can really get you lots of touch points consistently over throughout the course of the year so that when you go to these events, more and more people are going to know who you are, more and more people are going to stop by, you're going to be more familiar, just like with any other industry. And there's so many ways for media to help you tell the stories you want to tell these days. In the past, again, it was only magazines. Now, through all of the digital means, we can tell those stories for you. And certain publishers, every publisher has a different way of doing things. For us, even for our sponsored content opportunities, we keep those mostly educational, not too salesy. We want to draw our readers in. We want to get them engaged, and so that you can again tell those stories. You can introduce yourselves, and the messages you're trying to convey out there, and you'll have those touch points, and the leads will start to flow. Sometimes people, companies are, we want leads. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's get people to know who you are so they are more inclined to click on this, come to this webinar, go to this podcast, watch the video that we're doing with you. Uh, there's so many ways we can do that to help people engage with you. And yeah, you really need to be looking at the combination of media and events when you're putting your plans together.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember Supply Chain Brain produced and hosted a summit 2 years ago called the Global Supply Chain Marketing Summit. And one of the things the executives, the end users, the shippers, the ones that the solution providers are trying to attract said was that if you will do branding well, if you will do content development well, if you will do earned media and online strategy well, and these were the shippers, folks, not Supply Chain Brain or Supply Chain Brain Media. They said if you will do those four things well, the leads become a byproduct of those things. And I think what's happened is up until now, we've tried to make the leads the front, and we understand that's because that generates the business and the profit. But if you do all of those other things well, man, oh man, just like when you purchase something or you're looking to get something, the branding, the content, the exposure that you have with all of that matters to you. It does to your prospects too. So let's wrap the show with this one, Brad. How does how does media fit into the overall strategy going into 2026? Now that we know it's real, now that we know it's needed, now that we know it's possible, and there's a lot of people out there being influenced and persuaded by it, how does it help or enhance what we're doing with our event marketing, which we're really good at, and our overall strategy going to market?
Yeah, and by the way, Ralph, when we talked about the summit, you remember how we had all these buyer's journey panels where the buyers are talking about you need to hit a lot of people in our organization, not just me, VP of supply chain or supply chain master, but there's so many different people you need to be influencing in our organization. Um, uh,
That's a
so
really good point. That's
yeah,
especially for the solution providers in the supply chain space because these are such big investments and they affect so many different area operations, engineering, distribution, manufacturing. So, that buyer's journey does become something that when you're putting a strategy to go to market through media, through events, through all of these different things, you need to be thinking about that entire journey.
absolutely do. And also somebody before I get into the whole bigger picture, the someone came to me the other day and said, okay, we want to market to your audience, of course, but we want leads, but we don't want you to give us leads from companies we're already working with. And I said, why? Why? I mean, I mean, there's so many people coming into this business these days at the companies you're working with. They're going to be in charge very soon, and
Right.
they're going to be influencing decisions very quickly. Why wouldn't you want to keep reinforcing your brand and your message to the people you're already working with as well?
Well, because I can tell you, Brad, their competitors are. I promise you, their
Absolutely.
competitors are.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, so big picture now. Events, media, everything you can do to reach these folks. I think the publisher, and I've always thought this, even before Supply Chain Brain, has the deepest connection with your audience every day. And we certainly do more now. But unfortunately, for some companies, the math is off with their marketing budget, right? They're going, all right, we got to be at these events. The face-to-face contact is important. I don't disagree with that. But only a small percentage of our audience actually goes to events. It's 30, every time we do this, it's about 30%. And only a small percentage of those people are going to see you at these events. And a small percentage of those people actually have projects that are going to require your services at that time. So why are you spending 90% of your budget or 80% or whatever it is on event marketing and a small percentage on media? Now, a lot of companies have a much better split. And I am imploring you, whether you use supply chain brain or not, to start to rethink this strategy. The percentage of your budget needs to be a significant amount with media in general. You still need to go to events, you still need to invest in those, but I think there needs to be a much bigger split here, Ralph, and companies need to know that. And a lot of the marketers that are going to watch this program know this. The CEOs may not. They're just not thinking about it, but they really need to. And so that's, bigger picture. That's what I think you need to start looking at.
Yeah, no doubt. And you were touching on things, and I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate you being here today because, as the founder, president, and really the vision, the direction of Supply Chain Brain for the last 30 years, you have the credibility that the people who are making the decision going into 2026 need to hear and to have. To your point, the research shows less than 5% of people at trade shows are actually looking to purchase the solution provider's service, software, hardware at the show. So that means 95% aren't even there to buy anything. And then to your point, there's a lot of people who aren't even at the show. So media allows you to get out there to the 95% so you're front of mind, and it lets you touch the people who weren't even there. Because look, folks, at the end of the day, it's not a matter of who you know. It's a matter of who knows you. And media allows you to be more well known. Because ultimately, what Brad and everybody else in the industry who's trying to help you through media is doing is to get your job from knocking on doors to get them to knocking on yours. And that's really ultimately what it's all about. Brad, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate you. Wish you the best in 2026. More importantly, I wish the supply chain industry the best in 2026.